to illuminate the often unseen mental health challenges faced by first responders, police officers, firefighters, paramedics, and 911 dispatchers by sharing their stories, fostering understanding, and promoting resources for support and healing. We aim to break down stigma, advocate for improved mental health services within the first responder community, and inspire hope and resilience. This is the Weight We Carry podcast. Hey guys, I'm Brittany and this is Bart. We're from the Weight We Carry podcast, and today is a very special interview. We have our very first international guest all the way in Australia, Dean Gladstone. Thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm in the future. We've just worked out.
Yeah, you are the future. So we were just saying...
It's an honour to be here, guys. Thanks for asking me to be on, and yeah, I'm excited.
Wow, we're extremely honoured. It's so cool to have you on. When you reached back to me, I was like, you're not going to believe this. I was like, he just sent me a voicemail. I was like, he says he's gonna come on.
Is she freaked out?
So Dean, a lot of people probably know you from the show Bondi Rescue, but you are definitely much more than that. And if you can give yourself an introduction.
Yeah, wow. So I've been a lifeguard for 25 years now, and I worked as a lifeguard full time until about 7 or 8 years ago. And I was having a couple of issues at work, and I decided to have a little bit of a career break, and ended up training with Wim Hof. And, it was really all coming together, my worlds of stress management and lifeguarding and rescuing people and really controlling fear. And, it just, the more I learned, the more I could relate it back to what I'd done, and trying to help people has always been sort of one of my passions. So, really fascinated in this whole world, and it's great to connect with people like you, and there's so many people doing awesome things out there, and it's a big problem, and I've got some thoughts to share, and I'd be interested to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, we can't wait. So we're gonna take it back from the beginning. Can you tell us how you became a lifeguard in Bondi, and what you into the world of public safety?
I wasn't good at anything else, really. I had learning difficulties at school, and they were pretty much undiagnosed. I struggled to, I could read. My writing and spelling is atrocious, still is. But I was a really good swimmer. Enjoyed sport and athletics, and it just somewhat seemed as some sort of natural progression for me to do something that I'm good at, and that ended up being lifeguarding. I spent a lot of time in the water and in the surf. It was sort of a natural progression for a city boy or a beach boy to work on the beach.
Did you always live pretty close to Bondi Beach, right?
Yeah, I grew up sort of Murrumbidgee, 10 minutes away, and my mum was a nurse.
Okay.
Yeah, she's retired now. And we saw the lifeguards doing CPR, and they brought a man back to life one day, and she explained to me what they did. And I just remember thinking that is so cool, so it really tied it all together. So, having that skill to go out and get someone, and then, a different skill to bring them back to life. It's pretty special.
I feel like everyone that we've kind of talked to that, is in public safety, there's always like that one moment they're like, I knew this is what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. They either saw a call or, ran into a paramedic or a firefighter, and they're like, oh, this is so cool. Like, this is what I want. This is what I want to do. Yeah. So Bondi Rescue became an iconic show. My son grew up watching it, so it's a cool thing that we get to do together.
How old is he now?
He's 11, he'll be 12 next month.
Okay.
So I have to tell you, I got some cool points when I was like, you're not going to believe he's coming on the podcast. But, so it's an iconic show around the world. We're in Pennsylvania and you're in Australia. How did it feel from going from being a lifeguard to a public figure?
It was really cool. It was when it first happened. There's this sort of 15 seconds of fame, but it's a long, long time ago, right? This is before all the celebrity TV stuff. You know, we used to watch American sitcoms. It's before YouTube. It's before Facebook. This is sort of 2005, 2006, where the show really took off and was on prime time in Australia, and it was up against sort of, I don't know, American sitcoms were on TV then, and I think you used to watch the ads. I try to tell my kids sometimes, like it was, you used to run to the toilet in the ad break. So it was a very different time in TV land. So yeah, it was when we were first getting filmed for the show, we thought it was really special because we thought we were going to be on TV. And then we sort of slowly started to work out they're filming hundreds and hundreds of hours of content and there's going to be like 6 20-minute episodes on TV. So yeah, it was a very big learning process. And yeah, the TV world has changed so much since. And I think, Bondi Rescue's watched a lot on replay and it's watched over and over again, which is one of the big appeals, I think, to the maybe TV companies. But yeah, it's just been an amazing, amazing journey that I've really
Yeah,
enjoyed.
awesome. So in 2006, you were a victim of a brutal and unprovoked attack that left you with serious and physical emotional injuries. Can you share what happened and how that experience impacted you moving forward?
Yeah, it's yeah, I sometimes say it was the best and worst day of my life. So I was at the football having a beer and I was looking that way and someone ran up this way and sort of punched me in the face and knocked out 4 of my front teeth.
Oh, wow.
This one's fake. The dentist managed to do a pretty amazing job putting my face back together. And yeah, but it was the physiological effects afterwards that I really started to struggle with that I really just didn't understand.
Yeah.
And the medical system seemed to just, apart from offering to medicate me, seemed to lack to support me.
Yeah, that's what we're kind of, that's one of the reasons why we're doing this podcast is there needs to be more awareness of mental illness and PTSD and everything else. So the more people we can get on, the more stories we can tell, the more resources that we can share. Like that's our ultimate goal. So what was some of the earliest signs or symptoms of PTSD or stress-related illness that you remembered or noticed after the attack?
Well, I didn't want to leave the house. I was in chronic pain. Um, yeah, well, I didn't feel safe around people drinking alcohol. I couldn't watch violent sports. I couldn't watch sort of boxing. I still struggle to watch the MMA. Excuse me. Yeah, my whole life changed. Um, and I really had to try and, I bounced around from doctor to doctor and even like talking to psychologists. I didn't like, because I was reliving the trauma from my understanding now. And now I'm okay with it. But at this stage of my life, when I was reliving the trauma, I was reliving the stress by talking about it with people. And I've read some studies where maybe this is not the best thing for some people, which would be interesting to discuss. But I found like body work, getting massage was the most effective treatment for me. I was spending a fortune just going to massage places because I was in this pain from this disc bulge in my neck because I had a whiplash after the assault. Um, so yeah, I didn't like the sleeping tablets. Um, the doctors were trying to put me on cholesterol lowering drugs and anti-anxiety medication, and at this stage, I was just jack of it all. And yeah, I just sort of really just tried to focus on my health, and that was a struggle. I was eating like this high carb, low fat diet, and that wasn't working for me at all. Yeah, and yeah, I found this health coach, and it just, we just changed the way I looked at everything, changed my diet, changed my movement patterns, and yeah, the process, it was amazing.
So, Dean, what was the turning point for you, the moment where you knew you had to make major changes to reclaim your health and your well-being?
Yeah, it's a good question, Bart. Like it was a constant. there was a constant evolution of, I don't know, me trying to get through the day, really.
Yeah.
I was so lucky I had so much support. So much support. Financially, it almost makes me want to cry. Um, yeah, I just had so much support that I was able to sort of get through the basics and just try to focus on my health, which I became obsessed with my health. Um, too much so, and in some ways, this obsession was a good thing because it helped me achieve my goals. Like I was so disciplined, like I was anal, I was very hard to live with. But again, I was supported by the people that loved me, right? So that they put up with me, and there's worse sort of addictions than organic food, right?
Yeah.
Um, and trying to live a sugar-free life, and that's what I was doing. Like I was on this sort of clean diet, alcohol-free, like trying to go to bed early, filtered. I couldn't drink water that wasn't filtered. Like I was like, I was a full-on weirdo. And so yeah, I guess that sort of discipline, just trying to regain my health, because without my health, I couldn't work, and without working, there's no opportunity to feel safe because you can't provide for yourself, let
Right.
alone the opportunity to have a family or do anything like that. So yeah, it's just trying to sort of build some sort of basic principles of safety.
And that's what we see. A lot of people that we do talk to, they don't have that support. Not everyone is lucky enough to have a supportive family or a supportive spouse, anything along those lines. And in my journey with my PTSD, working as an EMT for 12 years full time, and then in 2020, I had a very serious medical issue where I almost died. I was in the hospital for 2 months, and that just made the whole issue even worse.
Yeah,
So luckily I had Britt and my son here and all of our family that were so supportive of getting me through my mental health journey and my depression. And finally, I think that's why we really started this podcast, because I finally reached out for help to my physician. I was like, I'm struggling here. I was at the point where it was just, I wasn't myself. I wasn't giving my all to my family. And I think finally, I actually got medicated, which I was so against taking any antidepressants, but
mm,
it worked. I take a very low
yeah,
dose, and I'm leaps and bounds from where I was this time last year. I would have never
amazing.
done any of this without reaching out for that help and having that support from my the health provider or the healthcare providers and my family. So
Mm. Yeah,
it's amazing to be able to have that type of support group around you.
yeah.
That's
There's
kind of
no
where
sort of one
we
size fits all, is there, with this stuff? What was working for me or what wasn't working for me is actually potentially what helped you, right? So it's trying to come across this with an open mind and trying to give people what they need.
yeah, everyone has a different journey and things work differently, and that's why we want to get so many different stories on here. You're our first lifeguard. We've had police, EMS, fire, just different lifestyles and
Mm,
married people, single people. So just so someone can relate with that person and say, okay, like this, I'm not alone. Like this person's feeling the same way. Um,
But did you
ours
do
kind
night
of,
shift for a long time? Were you working nights?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
worked 224s a week for EMS. So I did that for 12 years. And
yeah.
then in the early stages, I was still working there. And then I worked at another place that I would get off my 24-hour shift and go straight in to a 32-hour shift. So it's not good. But that was before we were married and before we had our son.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like now, luckily, I work eights. I work in the 911 center and I work 8-hour shifts. So it's a lot easier, a lot more manageable. And then we have time to do this.
Yeah.
We have time to do this and speak to people like you, which is fantastic. Um, so how did your experience with PTSD and depression lead you into the world of breathwork, cold therapy, and holistic healing?
Yeah, I think my passion was nervous system regulation in a greater sense, um, which breath work, cold therapy, and what else did you just say? But yeah, it was nervous system regulation in the greater sense, and I really found breathwork and cult therapy really valuable tools to help other people to teach.
Sure.
I feel like that they can tap into the nervous system really quickly. I was an asthmatic as a kid, so I always had this sort of relationship with the breath, and potentially I was breathing incorrectly or dysfunctionally for a long time. So once I sort of yoga was really I really loved yoga before I ended up with after the assault, and it really sort of helped bring me back and center me. And I ended up sort of studying and teaching yoga as a part of my breathwork journey, but then, studying with Wim Hof and studying with Patrick McEwen from Oxygen Advantage, it really sort of gave me this well-rounded understanding of the nervous system. And then, yeah, in particular, breathwork and cold therapy were just great ways to tap into it and educate other people about it.
I'm very interested in it. I'd like to learn more.
Well, they're really tangible, so you can feel them really quickly.
Okay.
Whereas when you meditate, sometimes you sort of meditate and you're like, am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? Am I doing it right?
Yeah.
And for me, after my assault, I was trying not to think about being punched in the face, right? And like I could taste the blood in my mouth and feel my teeth like pointing backwards. It was a very, very strange feeling, you're not used to your teeth poking back into your tongue. And as soon as I would sit and meditate, that would just come straight into my head. And I'm like,
Mm.
this is not right. And
Yeah.
then you get stressed and angry that you're not doing it right. So yeah, the meditation wasn't quite working for me, where some of the breathwork techniques, the Wim Hof stuff is more aggressive, more tangible. You can feel it, your body's moving, you've got to put a bit more oomph into it. And actually the science behind it, it decreases oxygen to our prefrontal cortex, to our thinking mind. So we're actually getting oxygen away from the brain that can overthink. So you're actually sort of taking blood away from that area. So that can be really beneficial for some people.
Wow. That is. It's very interesting. And I need to look more into it.
Yeah, it's fascinating because the over breathing, hyperventilation, you guys,
Mm.
you're medically trained, is bad. But when you're consciously hyperventilating, you're consciously pumping up your nervous system. And some people, some of the breathing coaches don't like it. But after you stop hyperventilating, you come into a breath retention and the body comes back into balance, and it's really blissful. And part of the bliss is being slightly hypoxic. It's this sort of relaxing, you might even feel drunk or high. And then yeah, you sort of come in and out of it. But by coming in and out of this nervous system stimulation, you find a lot of people find this place of relaxation or meditation that they've never experienced before in their life.
Wow.
And so I was able to experience this from breathing, and it was just, yeah, amazing.
How's your personal journey with trauma changed how you view stress, both in emergency situations and now everyday life?
Well, I was fascinated with all this stuff as a lifeguard, right? Because we sit there all day, and you've got to try and remain calm, but then at any moment we need to be able to up and go and sort of paddle out. And I don't really feel like I was risking my life. I feel quite comfortable in the ocean, even when it's quite dangerous. So I'm not going to say, oh, I'm risking my life. I don't feel like a police officer or someone in the army. I feel
You
quite
are. You are.
like there's no one shooting at me. Like, and actually, people always say really nice stuff about us, unlike the police. Um, I love the police. The police are great. But yeah, so yeah, I feel quite comfortable in what I'm doing. But but when you got other people's lives in your hands, and those decisions, and that being capable and being able to fulfill your duties could mean life or death for someone else. So it's
Sure.
really being at the top of my game. And so, yeah, I was really interested in the ability to control stress to do that. And then also the ability for my body to be able to sit for long periods of time and then be able to get up and essentially sprint
It's like
if
instantly.
instantly, which is again sort of where my path was going towards yoga. Um, Yoga was this calmness of the mind and body, and also the flexibility for me to be able to move my body as I needed. Interestingly, before I really studied breath work, I did a lot of swimming as a kid, so much training. And I was so fit, but after the assault, I wasn't actually training as much. But because of the yoga and I was breathing better, I still maintained my fitness without this training. So it was really wild for me.
So I don't know how the emergency services system works in Australia.
Excuse me.
So obviously you're a lifeguard. Now do you have EMTs and paramedics, or is it just paramedics? And how does that transfer over into your training? Are you like a certified EMT, anything along those lines, or how does that work?
No, if we have any dramas, we call the paramedics straight away. So yeah, we're trained by paramedics. Yeah, we don't really have sort of EMTs essentially. Yeah, we work for the local government and the paramedics and the police and the fire department is state government. So it's slightly
Okay.
different departments. Um, but yeah, we're always calling the paramedics or the ambulances to come and support us, and they're great.
Okay. So, in the lifeguard world, what's the attitude towards mental health like? Was there any stigma involved with people reaching out for help with mental health issues? And did you ever feel supported when you began struggling?
Lifeguard World was always really supportive. I guess back in the early days after a death, we would get together and drink alcohol and share our feelings. And this may not have been the best way to deal with it, but alcohol seemed to enable people to communicate. And the fact that people cared and the older guys would instigate that was really supportive. Um, then we sort of started to mandate counselling after a death or any serious incident. And we were always encouraged, working for Waverley Council at any time, we can call a counsellor for free, and it's discreet, it's private. It's not, our bosses aren't made aware of it. So yeah, there's free support for us ongoing, pretty much. I'm not sure how far it goes, but there is constant support for us, and we're encouraged to use it.
Good. Yeah, it's been the recurring theme when I started in EMS, and then when Britt started firefighting, and she started real young. She was 15 when you got your
Yeah,
firefighter and
wow.
then your EMT. Um, the old guard was always suck it up, Buttercup. Like if you go on tough calls,
Uh,
and it was just that's kind of how the everyone was. It's you didn't really talk about it, and now everyone's kind of bringing it to the forefront, and people are a lot more open, and there's more support, and there is a lot of support there. People just need to ask and reach out for it. And like
yeah,
we
we
said, we're
were a
just
really
trying
tight
to.
team, but I think we were really lucky. We had a really like small team.
Mhm.
Like there was, between a core team of maybe 25 and then 30 or 40 individuals. And yeah, if we wanted to make changes in our service, we were sort of, as long as the changes, like if we wanted new defibrillators, it was only a couple of defibrillators that needed to be changed across a couple of beaches. And these changes could be made within a practical amount of time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was always really lucky. If we needed new equipment, we were always able to get it. Then when the show started to come along, we just the support always seemed there for us. Um, the other thing is, I think Australia's mental health or suicide numbers are some of the worst in the world. Um, so yeah, it is pretty horrible, sort of what's going on here and why young males in Australia in particular are potentially killing themselves at the highest rate in the world.
Yeah. So, Dean, you did make a comeback in 2025 to work again with Bondi Lifeguards. How does it feel returning to that space now? And as someone who's done that work,
Yeah, well, I never, I've been there all along. Um, I love it as a part of my DNA. Yeah, it's nice to feel a part of the team.
mm,
And I'm able to mentor and support some younger workers in different ways and offer experience. So yeah, I'm grateful to still be there. And yeah, I really, the simple things you really appreciate as you get older.
sure do.
So, lifeguarding may look like a beach job to outsiders, but you've seen life and death situations regularly. Can you talk about some of the less visible psychological tools that come with the role?
Yeah, the hardest thing I think is sort of dealing with people that don't care. Um, because it's the little things that edge away at people. We worked with a guy years ago, and he talked about this black dot theory, and he'd have your whole day on a board, and you'd say, oh, someone was rude to you in the morning, and that was the black dot. But all these other good things happened in the day, all these other little red dots, and he'd say, why are we focused on the one black dot? And I love this little sort of black dot theory. So it was, yeah, trying to work out not to take some things to heart. People would walk their dogs on the beach and they just simply wouldn't care, right? And they're not meant to walk their dogs on the beach. And I used to get annoyed, and upset that people are sort of breaking the rules. And it got to a stage where it's like, these council, the rangers weren't great at finding people. They sort of didn't seem to care, and the dog owners didn't care. Like, why am I letting them ruin my day? So, I would sort of just go up to them and say, oh, excuse me, do you know you're not meant to have your dog on the beach, and smile, and then they would know, right? And they would smile, and it's like, and you just sort of, what can you do?
You just go about your day.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't control what you can't control.
Yeah.
Well, listen, one of my goals is to get to Bondi Beach, and I promise I will swim between the red and yellow flags.
It gets really busy between the flags, right?
Oh,
So I
come
do
on.
understand. There's actually, on a busy day, there's not enough people. There's not enough room in the flags for everyone on the beach to swim. So so the rules are, yeah, it's difficult. It's challenging to manage.
Oh, I bet. That's a lot of people. I've seen
Mm.
pictures and videos, and it's crazy the amount of people that are there.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll be next to the flags. Well, I'll listen though.
Yeah. Common sense. It's hard
Yeah.
common sense isn't so common sometimes, it seems.
That's the truth.
Yep. So, in your opinion, what are some of the biggest mental health risks for first responders or lifeguards?
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, I do wonder, it's the stress of working in, yeah. Hmm.
I got you
Don't
with this one.
don't know how to frame that. Um, I see people that are stressed that are unhappy in their workplace, um, and unable to make change. And sometimes this can be working for the government. As I mentioned in that scenario earlier, right? There's people that just don't care.
Yeah.
So working for local council, which is the local government for us, there's sort of three levels of government. It's whatever anyone does, they sort of blame council, whether it's good or bad. If council tries to do something, if council builds a park, there's someone complaining whatever council does. So there's all this red tape. So the people in council, they're like me, they've gone in and they've tried to do stuff and they've got all stressed and they've realized nothing's happening in a super timely fashion. So they just go through their processes. And I think this seems to slowly wear away at people. There's not enough, um, there's not enough change for them in a timely manner. And sometimes this is good and sometimes this is bad. I don't, yeah, there's no one thing that's right or wrong. I think, each case needs to be looked at differently. And I don't have the answers to fix the world. Sometimes I'm like, oh, what would we do? Like,
I
how
wish
could
we
we,
did.
how could we fix that? A lot of people in Australia are obsessed with American politics, and I'm like,
Oh my
like, guys,
goodness.
it's really got. I don't want to talk about it. Like, I'm not voting over there. I've got no opinions, and I've got work to do. Or like, I don't want to talk to you about this. You're quite clearly upset. Um, so it's different things for different people, but trying to stay healthy and happy ultimately supports people to do that. So
Yeah,
yeah, I
you
guess
lead
not
by
enough
example.
focus on health and wellness.
Like you said, whatever you control out of your power, you can't control everything.
Mm,
And that whole politics thing, no, thank you.
yeah.
Are there differences between the trauma of critical incidents versus chronic cumulative stress over time?
Um, yes. Um, yeah, good questions.
That's a hard one.
They say it's the straw that breaks the camel's back, right? Um, but yeah, again, it's different for different people. I can't speak to other people's traumas.
Yeah.
Um, I've worked with people. What I work with people is sort of, when we look at breath work, it's the way they breathe 24 hours, 7 days a week, and trying to decrease stress or improve health in every moment, and cumulatively that decreases their total stress and that improves their health. So their heart rate can drop, their blood pressure can drop. They can sleep better, so it's a flow-on effect. Um, yeah, that big traumatic stress event, um, you sort of got to rebuild people one step at a time. And for some people, breath work is really helpful, and educating them potentially about, what didn't work for me, sort of reliving that stress response and how the brain is so powerful, how it can release hormones and to make us feel like we're in that situation again. So yeah, the education is a big part of helping people wherever, whatever they're suffering from.
Yeah, absolutely. We've kind of mentioned this a few times in our podcast. It's kind of like the dam. You have all these incidents that hit you, and you have that one thing, like you said, the straw that breaks the camel's back. You have that rock that breaks your dam, and it all comes
Mm,
flooding open. And uh, we didn't make it to the school, but we wanted to. There's a school close to us, and it's actually where I got my EMT from. I started at 14 years old, and
mm,
we wanted to go speak to the students and keep it chipper and tell them like what an amazing career and opportunity you have, but also find those healthy habits right away because you're seeing stuff daily that you shouldn't see and it builds up. And even though if you don't think it's bothering you at the time, you're going to have that one time that it kind of all comes flooding
mm,
at you. So figuring it out early and figuring out your healthy habits to deal with it is very important. And we kind of we figured out after a while we both are down 100 pounds and we started working out, and I can tell when I don't hit the gym after a couple days that my mind starts to go and I start to get upset and short-tempered. So figuring out what helps you and what takes that stress away for you is very important, and
mm.
I'm really looking forward to learning that breath work, and I think that's something that would definitely help both of us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
awesome,
absolutely.
guys.
Yeah, thanks. So for those who haven't experienced it, What does PTSD actually feel like, and what were the physical or emotional symptoms for you?
For me, it was this constant reliving, um, almost the fear or being punched in the face, or my mind replaying the attack over and over again. And you can't stop thinking about it. And from what I understand now, this was releasing stress hormones in my body. So not only is my mind going, my body's sort of feeling it, and then I'm in some sort of heightened state from that. So that was my stress, not being able to control. I was just reliving the trauma over and over again.
Yeah, it was kind of with us too. So Bart mentioned, so it was the very beginning of COVID, and Bart got very sick, and unfortunately, when he was in the hospital, I couldn't even go see him because first they thought he was patient zero. They thought that he had COVID, and he didn't. He had Guillain-Barré syndrome. I don't know if you ever
Ah,
heard of that.
yeah.
It started to shut down everything, and through a massive
Pulmonary
yeah,
embolism.
pulmonary embolism. Uh, yeah, so things were hard for a very long time, and when he came home, that's when I started having problems, and
Mm,
I noticed I was distancing myself from him and my son, and I learned that it was me trying to protect myself, not to try to get close again, and it takes a while to realize that, and I think after a while, when it finally did click, I recognized it and figured out ways to help myself and to get through it all. And it does it. I don't know if you found this, but it still every once in a while will smack me out of nowhere,
mm,
and like you get those feelings back. But it's very far and few between now. Like it used to go daily that something would hit me about it, or I would hear a doctor talking. I worked at a hospital, and them giving reports, it kind of triggered it into me. Like,
mm.
oh my gosh, like I remember the doctors giving reports on
Yeah.
Bard, or just different words or different feelings, and now I can happily say it still hits me sometimes, but definitely not as much anymore as it used to. So I think talking about it and reliving it, and you said you had to wait for a while to relive that,
Mm.
and everyone's different in the timeline, but I think I'm finally at that time that I can talk about it and sometimes get emotional about it, but
Yeah.
it doesn't hit me as hard anymore or as much anymore, for sure. So how do you manage triggers or overwhelming moments when they arise?
Yeah, so if I'm stuck in my head, and it doesn't happen often, the deeper breathing, the more intense breath work just clears my mind. And yeah, you actually get a little buzz, you release adrenaline and cortisol. Um, and then yeah, you sort of come up in and out of this nervous system stimulation, and usually feeling quite good at the end, to process it. Sometimes I do that. I've got a little infrared sauna, and one of my mates comes over, and we do a little bit of breath work together. So it's a really nice bonding opportunity for me to bond with a friend of mine. In the sauna, you're sweating. Yeah, so that, healthy practices for me are sort of my go-to. The other thing I love is walking my dogs. So I leave my phone usually at home because we spend so much time on it. As handy as it is, it's really
Hmm.
nice just to
Put
distance
it down
yourself
and
from it. Yeah.
disconnect.
But yeah, then you want to take a photo or something, or listen to a podcast or a book. I love listening to books. Um, and yeah, just that little bit of disconnection. I love being in the sunshine. I love being in the ocean. So yeah, they're usually my go-tos. If I'm eating pretty well and sleeping well, um, yeah, my life sort of, yeah, I can sort of got control for most ups and downs.
I've seen you go into like those oxygen chambers
Mm.
also. Is that something that helps you with all this, or
Yeah, well, I'm not so much dealing with my stress at the moment. It's what I guess what I'm working towards is health and performance. So for me, I see people that are struggling with physical or mental health, post-traumatic stress, anxiety down here, like where they're not sleeping, they're potentially drinking, they're not eating well, maybe they're not hydrated, a whole range of what I call nervous system regulation or lifestyle tips and tricks. And then there's people, professional athletes, people that are trying to optimize their health and performance. They're trying to tweak and perfect all the things that the people are struggling with. So I just see it as a non-linear line all the way through. Although there's no guarantees, but if you set yourself up for success, ultimately, we see people more likely to be successful.
So, Dean, can you walk us through what the power of breath is and how breathwork can support trauma recovery or stress regulation?
Yeah, but for sure. So, power of the breath. I guess my journey, I really thought I was going to be a yoga teacher when I left the Lifeguards, and I had that little career break. I took a year's leave without pay, which ended up being maybe 15 months off. And I'd done my yoga teacher training, so I started yoga teaching and working as a personal trainer. And then I studied with Wim Hof, and I really thought my career direction was to be a yoga teacher. I was fascinated in the chakras, the energy centers of the body. That the yogis knew some amazing stuff like
They
eight
sure do.
thousand years ago. Like these people were the first people to exercise. Um, First documented people, like they were, like science is now quantifying what the yogis were talking about 5,000 years ago. It's absolutely wild. Um, so yeah, I thought my direction was to be a yoga teacher. I ended up studying with Wim Hof, and I had this passion, and I'd done so much sort of self-study, books, podcasts, courses on nervous system regulation or health, diet, nutrition, sleep, hydration in a greater sense. So I just ended up somewhere in this coaching world with a particular interest in breath work and cult therapy. Um, in another story, my toe got ripped off in a little motorbike accident,
Oh,
and
man.
I ended up um, finding some research on the internet by a guy called Dr. Jack Kruse, and he talked about cult thermogenesis, and I believe that sort of what I'd been through already really supported my toe to heal, because I sort of tapped it. I got everything tapped back in into set myself up for success, for my body to
Yeah.
heal. And but I started ice bathing as well, and
And can,
the anti-inflammatory benefits of that cold therapy I really think supported circulation to that toe.
and can you elaborate more on the ice bath instruction? Can you give us more on how that actually works?
Yeah, so putting yourself into a cold body of water again elicits a stress response in the body. So people generally get in and hyperventilate. When I'm teaching them, I'm like, you're not allowed to swear in my ice bath. So there's a potential for them to get in and go like this. So what we're trying to do is educate people about stress, or what my passion is from all this is like, if people can understand stress, because people are terrified about stress, right? If people know what stress is and know what it does, and we can,
Can
I think they
understand
call
it.
it contrast therapy, we can understand it and we can influence it. And if we can influence it, we can improve health and performance.
Wow.
And if we can improve health and performance, we're going to decrease, um,
The
you know,
stress response.
the chronic stress response, all the bad things. Yeah.
So, what role does movement, personal training, and yoga play in your own wellness toolkit?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm a bit of a sort of wellness or body junkie. I'm always, trying to make sure my body feels right or moves right. I'm rolling around on tennis balls or foam rollers. Um, I'm quite attached to feeling good. I'm a little bit addicted.
That's a good addiction to have.
Yeah, good addiction to have, but still, what am I? I'm 47 this year. I want to continue to work as a lifeguard, and this enables me to be, fit and able to do that. So, as you get a little bit older, I potentially got to work a little bit harder or smarter to maintain your body's ability to move. My kids are 14 and 11 now, so I want to surf and do wild stuff with them, jump off rock ledges into water and have fun, and for quite a period of time yet. So I'm just a big kid, really.
I am too. So, Dean, you've worked with thousands of people globally. What's one story or moment that really stands out from helping others manage their stress or recover from any type of trauma?
I've got a sort of, I end up with a client every couple of months that has been in therapy for a considerable amount of time. And in 2 or 3 sessions, by changing the way they breathe, it completely changes their life. And this is a common theme. And they generally usually decrease their medication if they want to. And yeah, it's a common thing. It doesn't happen for everyone. It's, but a couple of times a year, I get this person that's been struggling for years and years, and we give them some simple breathwork techniques, and it changes the direction of their life.
And now, what does your personal daily routine look like?
Yeah, great question, guys. I'm a bit of a flexitarian. I walk the dogs twice a day. That is for sure. It depends if I've got clients or if I got the kids. I'm on podcasts and I've got stuff, all over the place. So I do like to get to yoga maybe once a week, or do like to get some exercise in. And I do like to eat clean. But yeah, I'm not really too attached to anything that has to be done every day. It's just, yeah, sort of, yeah, depending on how I feel, and trying to support that.
You just flow with it.
Flow with it, yeah. Like I still am partial to go get a massage when my body feels sore, and I love that. I sort of end up having a nap, and um, waking up feeling refreshed. I multitask. I have a little nap and a massage, and yeah, working for myself, I've got this sort of flexible, beautiful life, um, where generally I've got some ability to move things around most days.
So you teach, I know you teach classes there. Do you teach any classes like online or?
I've got stuff all over the place, but it's a bit of a mess. But it seems to work. I'm teaching online tonight. We've got a little breathwork instructor course. I've got some of my ice bath instructor courses online. And as a part of the online course, I have a one-to-one Zoom with people. So they do the online content, which is maybe 4 to 8 hours. Excuse me. And then I meet with them and we just go through and discuss it, because, there's not necessarily a right or wrong, or, different people need to do different things. And sometimes coaches actually have to be there and coach. When you're looking at someone, the coach has to work out whether they say get out or stay in. And it's sometimes empowering these coaches through the one-to-one discussion, yeah, to do that. So yeah, stuff moves constantly. I do maybe 5 to 10 PT sessions a week, or health coaching sessions a week. And then, yeah, other stuff sort of moves around, accordingly. Lots of driving my kids around as well.
Yeah, I bet, especially at those ages. We just have one, and I mean, he has baseball the next, I think, 4 or 5 days in a row now. So, it gets busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I love it though. I love watching them play sport.
Oh, it's the greatest. It is. I love it. Baseball was my sport, baseball and softball. So I let him. He tried everything. He's got into every sport, and baseball seems to be his thing, and he's really getting into it. So like, I'm really excited. I never tried to influence what sport he liked, but now I'm just like, yes. Then I get anxious on the sideline. I'm like, oh, come on, buddy. Yeah.
Finally, this year I'm on a good shift, so I don't miss any baseball games.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, that's so important. So how did filming Bondi Rescue and being on camera impact your mental health during the rough times?
It was really exciting at first. It was um, it was stressful. I was also disappointed in my ability to articulate myself. I didn't feel like I could communicate as well as I liked, and I still don't, to be fair. So yeah, it is a little bit stressful, but when you're it gave me an appreciation for actors actually, because some people think the show's fake, and I'm like, you don't understand. Like, we're not smart enough to fake this stuff. Like, this is we're we're falling over our words, and we're talking about stuff that actually happened. Like, these people that make TV are really skilled. Um, so yeah, because we were sort of talking about something we're passionate about, it's much easier than um, yeah, sort of filming or doing something yourself.
Was it ever hard to maintain your public image while you were struggling privately with PTSD?
Um, yeah, I think what I learnt during the show, particularly in at first, I was trying to be maybe someone that I wasn't, and not in a bad way. I was maybe, you know, trying to be more, not more important. But anyway, we quickly learned that people seem to like us for who we are, and they liked us because we weren't perfect. They liked us because we made mistakes. They liked us for different things that we did. So they liked us for us. So it was, yeah, I sort of learned that we were all unique, and people seemed to like us for who we were and what we were doing, and we had this sort of bond. Um, yeah, where we felt supported. So when you feel supported and you feel good for what you're doing, it was just encouraged. I felt safe to be who I was, and I was quite different. Like, being that sort of health nut that I was drinking coconuts before coconut water was a thing. Um, I was asking people for grass-fed meat, and they were just looking at me like I had two heads, and like, all these things are common now. So yeah, the world shifted a lot. And yeah, I've always just been, if you're true to yourself, people seem to connect with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
The people that are meant to be in your life will be in your life.
Yeah.
That's the way
And if
that's the way
not,
it
you
works.
don't want them, right? You don't want to.
Oh, we don't got time for
Yeah.
it. So, do you feel reality TV adds pressure to first responders who are already carrying so much emotionally?
Well, Bondi Rescue is considered an observational documentary, so we don't consider it reality TV. Although, excuse me, we went and did a year in Bali. So the Bali show was completely different. The Bali show was reality TV because we were just over there making TV. When Bondi Rescue's filmed at Bondi, we're just doing our job, and the cameras are there to film it. So it's an observational documentary. Whereas when we were in Bali, we're sort of making TV and moving around and doing stuff. So if the guys don't want to be filmed, they don't have to be filmed. They can grunt at the cameraman, and the cameraman will go away. Um, yeah, so we get on really, really well with the production company and the camera people, and we feel safe that they're going to portray us pretty well. So this has been developed over a long time, like it's over 20 years now. So I guess we feel safe that the show's not gonna make us look bad. And even when they showed the first death all those years ago, we were all quite concerned about how that would look. But they did it openly and honestly, and we were blown away by the public's response to how the show covered the death. And the truth was really powerful.
Yeah, that's what you hope the transparency shows through, especially with that type of career. They want to make sure that it's portrayed correctly.
And
That's
even when we do make mistakes, like, everyone makes mistakes.
yeah,
Doctors make mistakes. It's not like it happens, and there's reasons why. So yeah, I think they've really grateful the way they've covered us and supported us, and Yeah, ultimately it wouldn't be good if they didn't cover us well.
What resources are available in Australia for first responders or public safety workers who are dealing with mental health challenges?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, so working for council, we've got access to um, counselling over the phone and in person. I think you can go and go and speak to people. I'm not sure. As I said, we're local government. I'm not sure what the state government has, what the police and the fireys and the ambos have in place there. I know they're much bigger organisations, and I guess the bigger the organisation, the more challenging it would be to manage.
Sure.
Um, and again, our team was quite small, um, and we were really able to sort of support and manage that team really well, I felt.
And if you could, what advice would you like to give someone listening, whether a responder or not, who's just now realizing that they're not okay?
Yeah, I think we talked about finding the little things for you. Um, for me, looking after my health made everything a little bit better. Um, so yeah, looking after your health to support yourself through those ups and downs for me was the biggest winner. But yeah, finding something that works for you, and you're getting support if you need it. But yeah, not being afraid to try different things and ask for help.
And I think that's what it's a resounding thing that we say is there's always help out there. We just need to ask. And there's so many different things out there for other responders. They just have to know what's out there. That's what we're trying to provide to
Yeah, well,
our
that gets a little bit
listeners.
confusing and overwhelming potentially as
Yeah.
well. So, yeah, that's a different challenge. But yeah, I certainly don't have all the answers.
Well, guys, and Dean, we wanted to just thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us on here and to give us your story from over there in Australia. It's amazing to be able to speak to someone that far away, and you're in the future. We're talking to
Yeah,
someone
it's
in the
so cool,
future.
isn't it? You can connect
It
with
is.
people
It's
online and
amazing.
um,
Sometimes the technology part of it is it's a pain in the butt for us with technology, but it's also amazing also.
yeah. No, I'm going to look for the positives.
Absolutely. And anyone, if you would love to be on the show, just like Dean was, we'd like you to hit us up at twwcpodcast@proton.me. Uh, Dean, it's been an absolute honor to have you on, sir. Thank you so much for your time.
But you fully sound like a DJ already, like the local radio station. You've got it, man.
Well, I am a telecommunicator. That's what I do. I talk on
Yeah,
the radio all the time.
there you go. Uh, Brittany, thanks guys. Really, really appreciate it. Yeah, send me something so I can share it for you guys, and keep up the good
Absolutely.
work.
Thank you. Thank you so much for taking that time. I see how busy you are all the time, so for you to get back to us and take that time to come on, we really appreciate it.
Yeah, but that's my other struggle at the moment. I'm working more, and I want to spend time on my health and with my kids and doing other stuff. And I sort of, working for yourself, and everything costs almost double
Oh
what
my
it did a
goodness.
couple of years ago.
Way
And
more.
I'm not earning double what I was a couple of years ago. So, um, educating people about stress, I'm quite aware of my own stress, and it's like, it's off. What do I do about it? Um,
It's that
so,
breath work. Get that breath
Yeah.
well,
work in.
that's why I'm sick. So anyway,
Stressing out a little bit.
yeah, stressing out a little bit. It happens though. Just got to get back and put one foot in front of the other. And what do we talk about? Controlling what you can control, right?
That's it.
Absolutely. We're gonna have to
So
look into this. We're gonna try the breath work.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you, sir. Sir, thank you again. We really appreciate you. And if you could just stick around for about 5 more minutes, we'll let everything upload and then we can sign off, okay?
all right, gang. I'm gonna go get a drink of water.